I don't have enough words to tell you how much I love Springfield's library system. They have computers anybody can use. They have databases that make it possible to research my family history. They have books I can read to educate myself. They have interlibrary loans so I can get more books from places farther away. Sometimes the reference librarians can answer technical questions when I get stuck, and they do so without making me feel like I'm a dummy. Sometimes the library even provides a little community of new friends and common interests. I've met several new ones. I love our library. Just before my senior year of high school, my family was moving to a different state. My best friend gave me a going away gift, which turned out to be a Bible with an ancestor chart in the middle. As a curious 17-year-old, I thought it wasn't too good to have all those blank spaces in there, so I started filling them in, and that's when I found out how much I didn't know about my family. First, because the people in our past really did make us who we are. Without them, you and I wouldn't be here. I believe that knowing something about those earlier people can help us understand our current family dynamics too. Just like why we learn history in school, if we know the past, we can understand the present and we can figure out how to change the future. Also, knowing our family history gives us a sense of identity and belonging. In today's world, it seems to be very hard for our children to connect with their elders. Hearing stories about their ancestors can help bridge the gap between generations. A study was conducted a few years ago about the resilience of children. This is what a reporter wrote about the results of the study, and I quote, "The more children knew about their family's history, the stronger their sense of control over their lives, the higher their self-esteem, and the more successfully they believed their families functioned. Knowing their family history turned out to be the best single predictor of children's emotional health and happiness." For more personal reasons, I'm a curious person. I had to know what names went in those blanks on that ancestor chart, and then also I enjoy solving mysteries. One of my parents told a lot of stories about grandparents and great-grandparents. There were mysteries embedded in those stories, and I also wanted to know which one of those people actually jumped on a ship and came over to America, leaving everything behind. So I had to solve those mysteries. One story I like is about a feisty little woman who lived in Yorkshire, England, over 200 years ago. Her name was Diana Cutsworth. When she first married, her husband Joseph made a living by working on barges that ran up and down the River Humber and through the canals near Hull, England. After the first 2 or 3 children came, Joseph moved the family away from the river and became a landscape gardener. Our theory is that maybe Diana didn't like the idea of having her children born on a canal barge. In the mid-1830s, Joseph had a hankering to move to America, so he crossed the ocean to explore the possibilities. He was gone for quite a while, maybe a couple years or more. Diana proved to be an unusually resourceful woman. While Joseph checked out America, Diana supported her family by working for the richer people in her English neighborhood. She nurtured her little brood of children and kept the family together. Joseph eventually came back home, but later in 1849, Diana packed the family's belongings, bundled up her children that were still at home, and off they went to America to live in the New World. This final journey by sailing ship took 12 weeks. One story passed down to us tells that Diana had brought her little pet dog on the trip. The sailing ship's captain said to her, "Madam, we tie up all dogs here on board my ship." Diana replied in her broad Yorkshire accent, "Well, whoever, you don't tie up me dog." And for some reason, the captain never tried. The family made their way to northern Indiana, but tragedy struck. Joseph Cutsworth was stricken with a fever, and after only 8 weeks in America, he died. Now what? Diana was quick to respond. She stepped across the border into Michigan, bought land, and started clearing the land for farming. Diana did much of the work herself and had some additional help from her sons. She lived and farmed there for the next 16 years. Altogether, Diana raised 10 children to adulthood, and all of them came to America. Her independence and courage were legend in the family. One more little story. In her later years, Diana became blind. One of her grandsons told that when he was a little boy, he got something in his eye and it hurt terribly. He ran crying to his blind Grandma Diana. She held his head closely and used the tip of her tongue to find and remove that tiny object. She was indeed a most remarkable woman.